will continue to our next event, which is our panel discussion. I would quickly want to call upon Sowmya Ramesh. Sowmya Ramesh is currently working as a delivery manager in UI testing. She has deep interest in non functional testing, especially accessibility testing. She's a very active blog writer. She's also been a speaker in multiple events like Dev Test Summit, MOT Edinburgh, Eurostar Conference, many ATA GTRs. Very warm welcome to you, Sowmya.
Thank you so much, Deepti. That was incredibly kind. A very good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone who has joined this session from around the globe. I'm delighted to be a part of the 10th edition of ATA GTR conference from Edinburgh in Scotland. And it's my pleasure and privilege to be a host of this panel discussion on the topic of test and QE leadership in times of AI. I wish to welcome our esteemed panelists who have joined us for this conversation from across the world. For some of them, it is very early hours in the morning, and for at least one of them, it's still middle of night. So the conference team and I are very grateful for the time and commitment from all our panelists today. I'm honored to be in conversation with some of the most inspirational thinkers and amazingly accomplished leaders from the world of testing and quality engineering. Without further ado, I do request our panelists to please introduce themselves briefly in their own words. I can see Charmaine at the top of my screen. So Charmaine, if you wanted to go first, please.
Morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm Charmaine Short. I'm a senior test manager. I've been in the game for over 25 years, delivering quality assurance across significant regulatory change programs. I've worked in financial services, retail, hospitality, public sector, blockchain. So my most recent role was Head of Quality Assurance for Finality International, which was a project which put the first central bank money onto blockchains in the UK. I've recently launched a consultancy for blockchain services and quality, and this is, this will be the start of my journey into the consultancy world. I've been fascinated by AI for the last 5 years, specifically AI ethics. So I'm really looking forward to today's panel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charmaine. I have Jackie next appearing on my screen. Jackie, it's 2 a.m. where you are. So firstly, massive thank you for making this effort. Please, if you wanted to go next.
I know, I was laughing when I saw the group chat and somebody said good morning. I was like, I haven't been to bed yet. Don't worry, just say good morning. So hi everyone, I'm Jackie McDougall. I am obviously from Scotland as well, but based in the US now. I am QA director at a consultancy company based in Minnesota, but I work remotely. And I've been also similar to Charmaine. In fact, we all work together in a similar company for 25 years as well, mainly in consultancy. Had a brief sidetrack into non-consultancy and working with dedicated teams, but then made my way back to consultancy again. AI is the topic on everyone's top of everyone's head. Everyone's talking about it. There is a lot of hype, but I'm hoping that we can dig in through some of the hype and get to some real answers about things, and maybe just try and calm everyone down a wee bit as well. But glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Sowmya.
Thank you, Jackie, for joining. I have David appearing on my screen next. So David, if you wanted to go next, please.
Thank you, Sowmya. Morning, everybody. It's great to see some old friends on this call as well, and also a lot of new people that maybe haven't met me before. So I'm David Orr. I live in Scotland, in Edinburgh, quite close to Sowmya, and we both work at the same organisation. It's 2i Testing. Been there for about 8 years, and I've been involved in software testing or quality engineering for about 14 years, primarily in consulting businesses. Again, as Jackie said, worked at the same organisation at one point in time as Jackie, Charmaine and Sowmya, so it feels quite strange to be back, but also good to be back in this company today. In terms of AI, I think it's really transformed our business over the last couple of years and how we think about and approach quality engineering. There's some great opportunities with it, but there's also more of an opportunity to introduce risk faster if we're not careful. So I'm looking forward to exploring it with you in a bit more detail today. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, David. If I can invite Seema next, please, to introduce yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Sowmya, and thank you, Aditya, for inviting me. And it's a special occasion. First of all, congratulations for the 10 years, for completing 10 years. It's been amazing work you guys are doing, and the whole team behind you as well, helping the community, advancing quality in the field, and now AI being the center of this 10th anniversary. Truly inspiring. So, yeah, I'm excited to join this panel. Very interesting conversations that's going to happen here. A little bit about myself. I'm the quality director in the hardware business unit at Huddle, and I oversee quality across our hardware and software programs at Huddle, partnering closely with engineering, product, operations, manufacturing, and ensuring we deliver the right products to the user, especially in sports, to all our athletes, and that the cameras and wearables that we deliver are dependable, reliable, because we play sports once, and when you need to get it right. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seema. And finally, to ATA GTR's very own Aditya Garg. So please, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you so much. And as it says, it's a real privilege to be part of this incredible panel. I can quickly introduce myself that yes, it's been 10 years since we started journey for GTR, and around 15 years when we started Agile Testing Alliance as a community. I run two companies other than this. This is my passion. This is my community work. I am CEO of a company called Avante Now, which is basically a pure play ServiceNow organization. And we are partners with a tool or a product called Bright Pattern. Both of these tools are completely moving towards AI. A lot of AI discussions like AI driven ITSM solutions, or for example, contact center application, which Bright Pattern has. How do we use agentic AI and AI into that? So there's a lot of product based innovations happening in that area. I run another company called QA Agility. We moved from quality assurance to quant analytics. There's so much AI happening around us. Clients wants to hear stories that how do you bring efficiency and product innovations using agentic AI or AI or generative AI. All that is going around us. And we have seen how testing has evolved in last 10 years from Agile to CI/CD to now a lot of automation and AI. So it's this panel, I think, would be amazing for us to basically see how it goes. And I'm really excited to be part of that. Thank you, Sowmya.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Aditya. And may I say, what an amazing collection of experience and insights from around quality engineering and testing, whichever way we want to call it these days. And I'm incredibly excited to kind of have this conversation with all of our panelists. As an opening question, I want to go around the table and request all panelists to comment about if you think this is a moment of transformation or more of a phase that we are witnessing because of AI, because perhaps some of the capabilities are still being understood. Do you believe this will lead to significant changes in the way leadership is to be operated or exercised or viewed in quality engineering and testing? Charmaine, please, if you wanted to kick off. Thanks.
Right, so I don't think it's a phase. I think this is an actual generational transformation in IT. So this could be as big a disruptor as when we had the rise of the internet, or when we changed to adopt Agile and DevOps, or when test automation came in. So I think it doesn't just change what we're building, it changes how we need to build it, test it, release it, operate it, and evolve the software. I think that the technology that I've seen so far is great, but it's not quite there just yet. But I see that it is improving at an incredible speed. And it's going to be embedded in every tool that we use, every workflow, every product. so in the previous era, we would focus on things like test scripts, test pipelines, repetitive actions. But now I think that the AI, it's not just going to do the sort of repetitive work, it's going to do the thinking for us, like designing the tests and analysing the code and predicting the results. So I think it's a very exciting time, and it's going to shift the risk profile completely for IT organisations.
Thanks, Charmaine. Jackie, if you wanted to go next to share some views, please.
Yeah, I'm similar to Charmaine. I don't think it's a phase at all. It's definitely a shift. I was thinking about it when we were preparing for this. I was writing down some notes, and I was thinking it's the next evolution. And then I was thinking, no, it's actually not an evolution, it's a revolution. It is going to completely change. And there's two sides of it. There's the how we use AI as a tool itself in the QA world, but then the thing that's really hooked me over the last couple of weeks, and I kind of had an epiphany moment a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking about this, and I'm going, oh my God, what about testing AI? And really diving into that and thinking, well, how do you test an AI application or an AI assisted application? It's so different because, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions later on, but it's just so different from the skill set that we're used to having and the way we're used to thinking about testing. Similar to what Charmaine said, we're used to having scripts. The way that we think about traditional software testing is there's a right and a wrong answer. That's not going to happen anymore with certainly with AI assisted applications. I think for the traditional software that's still being developed that isn't, doesn't have AI embedded in it, because that's still going to happen too. I think it's going to be more about the AI tools that we use to help improve quality assurance. But then on the other side, where it's AI applications themselves, I think there's going to be a big shift in the type of skills and the type of roles that we'll see in the QA space.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, I agree. Yes, perhaps kind of seeped into our world a lot deeper. We can't see that as a phase. Perhaps, David, what do you think, please?
It's definitely not going anywhere, is it? It's moving at incredible pace. That's the thing that I find most difficult, is how do you keep up with that pace of change? If you look at all these companies that have started that weren't there 2 or 3 years ago, now that they're at the forefront of everything, Anthropic and OpenAI, all these companies, they were nothing 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're everywhere. So that's the big thing for me, and it's how do we continually develop our capabilities and skills to be able to cope with it? Where are we going to be able to play? Where are we not going to be able to play? What can we rely on? What can't we rely on? An interesting thing that I looked at yesterday was actually 90% of software engineering groups, according to Gartner, will be using AI tools to support software engineering in 2026. That's up from 10% today. So it just shows you the shift that we're continuing to see in organizations are becoming a little bit more comfortable with adopting it and trialing out and bringing it in to do certain things. And it's certainly becoming more and more prevalent in that software delivery lifecycle. And we'll see a lot, I think we'll continue to see a lot more of that. And you asked another question there, Sowmya, around what would be significant changes for quality engineering leadership. For me, it's more doing more of certain things that we maybe didn't do before, or maybe we didn't do enough of. So I think you need to look a lot more externally than we did before, rather than within the organization. You need to see what's out there, what are the insights, what are the tools, how can you bring them back, how can you improve but keep yourself safe. Safety is the message for me, or one of the big messages. And it's managing expectations with stakeholders, senior stakeholders who just think that you can get all these benefits, speed, reduction in costs without any risk. But actually the risks are higher if you don't do this right. So you need to keep that in mind. So how do we deliver the benefits while keeping everybody safe? And then the final thing, which I think is really important as a leader, is how do you equip your people to succeed and support them through continual change? Because we've always been used to change, but it's happening so quickly. How do I cope? How do I keep up? How do I avoid being overwhelmed? these are the sorts of questions I think our people are going to be asking. I'm concerned about, and possibly excited as well. It's an incredible balancing act that's needed.
Absolutely. David, thanks very much for your views. Seema, if you wanted to share some thoughts, please.
I agree with most of what Charmaine, Jackie, and David have spoken so far. It is here to stay. AI is not a phase, it is not a hype. But we are at the point of inflection at this moment, and this is the time of change. But it is starting to question our foundations. Are we doing the right things and are we doing it the right way? Or is this the time when we start questioning how do we want it to change? What do we want it to look like going forward? So AI is not there yet. It's still evolving. It's continuously evolving and at a very high speed. Now, are we ready to catch up with it and evolve at the speed that at which it's evolving? So that's the question. And that's where probably all this phase hype and questions and is this really true? And all of these questions will come up. So I think going forward, this is about how do we partner with another partner? It's not about engineering, product, and different cross-functional teams. It's like, how do we product as a human being with AI going forward? So this is personal productivity to QA engineering to how do we release products? It includes everything. So it's a whole mind shift change, but very exciting times.
Thank you, Seema. Aditya, if you wanted to share your thoughts
I
as well.
think everybody has summed it up, but I can just add a few of my thoughts here. One thing is for sure, it is definitely here. And as what Jackie mentioned, it is not evolution, it is revolution happening around us. Some examples that I see in GTR when we look at call for papers and the way that papers have been selected by jury, 80% is on AI. Okay, when we talk to any company anywhere, the first question they ask is AI, even though we may not have, but the competition is using that. And as what David said, Gartner is predicting it. Okay, and it is there. So when we talk about not only us, most of us basically at our company, when they start writing something out, they start using co-pilots. Even my wife is using Copilot and Chat GPTs and Geminis. So it's all there. It's not only about us, not only in the QE space, but it's around us. So I think now the question is, we need to be part of this, and we need to see how we can make the situation better for all of us. So my take is there. Yes, it is right now. We are part of this revolution as we are here. We are seeing it change, and it's happening so fast. Till last year we were debating, if I'm not mistaken, in panel discussion. But right now, I think everybody is agreeing. That's the change that has happened in last 12 months.
Fully agree. It's happened very quickly, and interesting times. I really appreciate thoughts from everybody, and just to kind of pick up the thread from what David mentioned. As a QE leader, I think there's going to be a real shift in how you approach everything. So my question to the panel, and I'll welcome anybody to take this on the panel: how do you balance being an advocate for quality, the pressure to move fast in an AI-driven competitive landscape? Welcome anybody to pick this term. Yeah.
I think it's about empowering our teams and taking smart risk more than small risk. There is a risk here, but we have to take it one step at a time and start introducing the AI tools. There's a wide variety of tools that's available, but we don't have confidence over it. We're still in the process of seeing if these tools are even valuable because they're not deterministic anymore. So it's about how do we start small, start experimenting, try various innovations around, pick the most problematic areas or the repetitive tasks so that AI can start doing it and then evolve slowly with that.
Yeah, I would add to that as well. You pick your use case very carefully. I think it's important to block out the noise sometimes. I love this question because it ties in with a talk I did a couple of months ago on AI fatigue. And if you're like me and you spend a lot of your time looking up articles that people are posting on LinkedIn or looking up, journal papers. And if you just read the headlines all the time, you'd be quaking in your boots because you'd be going, oh my God, I need to move now, I need to move now, I need to move now. But I'm not moving now, I'm too busy reading all this stuff. So I think it's important to kind of block out the noise sometimes. And if you're not ready to move fast, that's okay. Everybody's going to go at their own pace. And I was actually thinking about this as well. Like sometimes there's benefits to going a little bit slower as well, because like we said, AI is moving so fast. If you pick one thing to pin your learning on, it could have changed by next week. So, I think it's okay to take your time, make sure you're choosing how you get into AI correctly and at your pace. Otherwise, you're going to end up failing. You're going to end up being exhausted, and you're going to end up failing.
I can add a few things here, agreed with that.
Please.
So when we want to basically balance between speed and the overall quality, I would say you need to basically look at the advantage of getting a head start. When we say head start, like for example, any problem statement, I would basically go to an expert and ask, is there something that I can get from you? Now, if we don't have access to experts, you have basically certain tools you can go to them, and it gives you certain head start. So now we don't really know whether that's right or wrong. That is where your own expertise, your own talent, your own domain strength will come into play. But to give some confidence to the end users, to give some confidence to the client, this head start plays a big role, I think, because if you're building a large system or even small, seeing something, or even if you're making proposals, even if you're making basically certain document, quickly coming out with something basically gives the confidence to the other party, and that's where the advantage lies. Now it's up to us to see how we basically look at it and correct it, and don't believe it in 100% as of now. So that's my take on using and be apprehensive about what is in there.
And I think what this is even more about than it was before is risk. It's balancing that risk and reward and engaging with, we're talking about leadership here, so a lot of that pressure is going to come from either customers, so they're expecting change of your organization because everything's changing so quickly, they just were expecting it now, I suppose, and also senior management or the leadership, they want the change, they want faster delivery, they want people to be more productive, they want the cost savings that they think they can get. They want to do more with less to get a competitive advantage. So there is a lot of pressure, but it's about how do you balance the risk. I think the opportunity that AI gives us that we hadn't had before is it's very straightforward to conduct experiments on use cases and find out whether they work or not. So it's how do you do those experiments safely without putting your people and your organization at risk? Learn from it, rule it out. You can do things on a daily basis that moves you in one direction or another. That wasn't possible before.
Fantastic. Thank you. I think a lot more data-driven decisions, particularly risks that could be introduced in terms of jumping into it too fast. I think great thoughts. I have a very good question coming from a member of audience, which kind of was going to segue into my next question around the skills that we need going forward. This particular question reads so well, I'll just read it straight out of the chat. So coding assistants are lowering the entry barrier to writing application code. Do you see this as a beginning of the end of the specialist testing related role? This could also feed into some of the fear that you might potentially have in the wider testing / quality engineering community. What's happening of our role? And I don't know how, as industry leaders, you all see this trend. Again, welcome any panelist to take this question. Thanks.
Go ahead.
That's a difficult one to answer, isn't it? I think it gives you a great opportunity to use these co-pilots to do things faster in development and also in testing. I think a lot of the skills that we've had before are still very useful because we can't just trust that output will be correct. So it's how do we still do the verification? How do we still think around it and make sure it's doing the right thing? So for me, it's an opportunity to accelerate what we're doing more with less at the moment, and to make ourselves more productive and potentially effective. But trusting it blindly that it's just working. We're nowhere near that position yet. So it's another balancing the rewards and the risks for me. But it's definitely a great opportunity for people to get more involved, and perhaps for some less technical people who might have been still scared by automation, it's maybe in some ways an easier shift to get involved, because you can say, here's my problem, and it gives you a solution, whereas that wasn't really the case before. So there's a bit of a change there.
Yeah. I can quickly add here. So the question is very clear. One, basically, would it end, or would it be the beginning of the end for the specialist testing role? I would say absolutely no, because this is where the fun starts. Because when 80%, 90% people start believing that the code that they have got, or the test cases that they have got, or the test scenarios that they're able to generate, that is where the specialist and domain specialist come into play. And I personally think that role and that importance will not go away easily, because what you have is something which you can only think, that is not there anywhere else. So even if you have developers believing that they have the test cases, or developers believing that the code is there, or even, for example, automation testers at one time used to say that we are having all the tests, what would a manual tester or a specialist tester do it? But I would say the role actually becomes really important when the world around is becoming complacent. So 80-90% when they start believing that yes, it is there, it is actually not there. So Deepak, I would say this is where the role for a specialist tester enhances and increases. And as leaders, I think we need to basically keep that safe.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think testing roles are going anywhere, to be honest. In fact, it's getting more critical that we have that testing mindset, because from the very beginning of what data is consumed by these AI tools to how and what it does with it, you need a critical thinking mindset. You need to question if the output is correct or not. So I don't see testing roles going anywhere but becoming more of a specialist in this area. And evaluating these models, it's a continuous effort. It's not you test it today and it's done, it's all good, let's release it, it's all done and over with. These AI models are learning from the data continuously, which means the testing continues. It doesn't stop at all. That and writing code, the other part of the, yes, the entry barrier for writing code, maybe it's becoming easier to write code with all these tools like Copilot. Um, but we still have to question, is this actually right code? Because it doesn't have all the context, history, understanding who the users are. So we have to have the human eyes and look at it critically and not take it as it gives out some code.
Yeah, I could add to that. So there's a similar concern in the developer community. So lots of developers are worried that their roles will no longer be relevant if an AI can write all the code. But from what we've seen so far, these models are in their infancy, and you really need the machine working in harmony with humans to quality assure and check that it's not spinning out a lot of garbage, because I mean the AIs do hallucinate, and if you ask an AI the same question 3 times, you get 3 completely contradictory answers sometimes. So you are never going to be able to remove the humans from the process. So all you need to do is learn how to prompt, learn how to ask the machine the questions correctly to get the best out of them. But you're still going to need humans, so don't worry.
Fantastic. Honestly, it's great to hear thoughts from all of you around how the role needs to adapt rather than it going away. It perhaps needs to kind of shift according to the changing times, like testing always has, all of these times. So thanks very much, everybody. There's another question that's been very compelling by Brijesh, and I think that also kind of ties in with one of the questions I had in my list. It's about, as a leader, where and how do you draw the line for AI and continue to rely on human intervention? Or do you think more AI should be used to beat the competition? And then the similar vein question is, how can leaders balance AI-driven efficiency with human intuition and critical thinking? Kind of a third element of this was the question I had in mind is, as a leader, how do you decide when to push your team to adopt new AI tools versus when to let them stick to the proven methods? Again, welcome any panel member to take this question or this string of questions.
So, Sowmya, I would need AI to summarize the question now. But again, there are three parts to it.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm also seeing the chat and I also heard you out. I can clearly say that I can give an example. Okay. We did a competition called Automathon recently, and we allowed everybody to use AI tools. They were free to use any tool, any AI tool, paid, unpaid, free, whatever. And the challenges were basically defined. There were 4 challenges given, and everybody tried to use, and incidentally not more than one challenge was solved in 4 hours. Now what happens is that this is what is the classic problem, Brijesh, when we look at basically like how much it should be used and where it should be used. It should be used till the point that it basically is able to help you do the head start. The moment it actually leads you to fog your mind, or basically it makes you complacent, that is where the problem comes in. Second point is, I would definitely recommend it. It should be used, but it should be, again, no complacency. When we say something like, for example, if we are talking about a scenario where you have basically somebody helping you create test cases or scenarios, you have to have your subject matter expert. Don't look at them to find out what would they test. The moment they look at it and they start getting their mind fogged, they will not be able to come up with critical thinking. So critical thinking and creative mindset is really required, whether it is any testing engagement, any problem solving, or any development task for that matter.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think critical thinking is even more important now than it was before. We run the risk of just delegating every thought to AI, and we're not in a position where we can do that just yet. So I would encourage us to think critically, take the opportunity to look for and expose risks, maybe think a bit differently, use AI as a co-pilot. But in terms of as a leader and how you draw the line, I think it has to be brought in safely, and people have to be equipped to use it. There has to be policies that supports them before we start using it. Because I think you can just log into your own device and get onto ChatGPT or Claude or whichever one it is. So people in your organization can just be off doing things. So they need guidance, they need a steer, but they absolutely need to still think critically. And we can't just trust AI blindly. That would be catastrophic for businesses, particularly as we start to try and scale this up over the years that are coming. Because there's going to be a lot more scaling. I think it works well locally, but how does it work well at scale when everybody's doing it? It's integrating together. That's one of the things that's on my mind, without making everything really unstable.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, I think having humans in the loop, as the phrase goes, is definitely part of the process. I do think the skills are going to have to change, though. I mean, critical thinking, all the good, traditional QA skills that we've all been taught over the years won't go away. But we are going to have to evolve as testers as well. We are going to have to. I mean, like I would never used to think about myself as having to learn about data, for example, or models, and even just the concept of LLMs and how they work, and how do these processes work? How does the LLM get more knowledge? How does that work? Why do the hallucinations occur? So if we're going to have to test those things, we're going to have to understand the data a bit more, and I think that's also part of the understanding what is our success criteria for a test case look like now. It's not going to be a pass or fail. It's going to be how many times out of 10 does it pass, or how many times out of 10 does it give us the right answer? So I think we're still working that out as a testing community, to be honest. But I do think like the other panelists have said, we need to definitely still use the skills that we've got, have people involved, and not delegate everything to AI. But then, like I said, the people who are involved will need to grow their skill set somewhat.
And I really, again, think great kind of insight from all of you. Do you think some element of developing vibe programming or prompt engineering, all of these skills will become a lot more relevant for a tester's skill profile these days as against how it would have some time ago? It's such a different world testers are walking into, and Brijesh rightly called out, there's huge news about testing teams getting fired. We are almost on the firing line, if you like, whenever technology trend changes. Do you think we need to kind of shift our skill set a little bit and to keep up with these times?
Absolutely, 100%. People who don't are going to get left behind, and that will be okay for a while because AI is still in its infancy. We've all said that, but at some point, there's not going to be a piece of development that you're going to come across that hasn't been touched by AI, or you're not going to need to use AI to test. And it's not just the testing itself. It's thinking about the requirements. How do you even define, or if it's an application that's got an AI kind of assistant in it? How do you define the requirement for that? How do you define how you're going to test those requirements? And then thinking more about the way the LLMs learn, and the way that the model shifts over time. So we're used to seeing things when they go into production. We've tested it, all works, goes into production, and it stabilizes. You get less and less bugs being reported, hopefully, over time. That's not going to happen with AI powered applications. That we're going to see the model move in real time. So our testing approach is going to have to move in real time as well, and we're going to have to monitor things more in production, I think, as well. And then obviously, it's easier to do that if you know how to use the tools that are available to monitor production stats. So I do think the skill set of the tester is going to have to change an awful lot, but I see it as a huge opportunity. I think testers should grab it and before somebody else does, and then they are out of a job.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's more risk here, so therefore there's more opportunity for testing. But I think Jackie's right. It's what do you need to do differently, and how do you take advantage of these tools that are out there? Because at the moment, that's really what AI is a tool to make things better or faster. So I think prompt engineering was one of the things that came up. Yes, you need to learn how to do that, because if you don't ask the tool the right question or give it the right information, it will give you a terrible output. It's the same as what we've been used to before in that regard. However, I think the change in these tools and the way they work is that it's moved from deterministic to probabilistic, as a few people have said on the call. So it's how do you understand what it's doing? How do you ask the tool to explain its decision? I think that explainability piece is really important. Now, that wouldn't have even been a quality characteristic before, would it? Now it's probably one of the big ones out there. So those quality characteristics for me are changing from what we were used to before. A big focus on explainability, a bigger focus on privacy and security as well.
Yeah, I think there's also going to be like a big focus on AI assisted exploratory testing, which is a very human activity, and evaluating the LLM models to make sure that they're correct. There's a new sort of threat out there called data poisoning. So, somebody could be tweaking with the model to make the data, like 0.001% wrong, but that could make sure that all your test results come out consistently wrong. So you need people with the cognitive ability to say, hey, that doesn't look right, instead of just trusting what the model results are outputting. So there's plenty to be learning and doing.
To your question, Sowmya, about should we learn prompt engineering or certain different tools? Yes, definitely. It doesn't mean only prompt engineering. We, like I said earlier, we have to make AI our partner, our best friend who sits by our side. But that takes time to build confidence and trust in what it's doing. And that's going to take time. And we have to continuously learn, relearn, maybe even shed everything that we've learned and start differently, because this is change in mindset and change in processes, change in the way we work. even as leaders, I don't see how we can continue to be as we were before. With AI, we have to find ways and evolve with it.
And amazing thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for sharing them, and a lot of questions coming up on the chat as well. And one of them is on the lines of what I had in mind to discuss as well, which is the pressure that we'll all experience from stakeholders on moving faster, break things quicker, do things even quicker than ever before. How do you kind of communicate the value of quality engineering to executives who see AI as a very easy way to achieve it, and managing upwards is a kind of a challenge for a lot of the leaders? Bridges has also raised that. How do you kind of deal with the business leaders and investors who are largely perhaps looking at the headlines and thinking, oh gosh, this could make us a lot of money. How can you make testing faster, quicker? Any thoughts from anybody on the panel, please?
Sure, I can actually. Yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
I was just going to say, for every headline where they're saying it can save them money, there are 10 more that say it's failed and it was a disaster. So I would always come armed with examples. Like, you're saying it can save you all this money, but look at all these reports as well. I think it's important to really question what problem the leaders are trying to solve. Is it, that the release cycles are too slow? Is it that they're not getting enough coverage? What is the problem that they think they're trying to solve? Because no matter what you do, if you don't know what problem it is you're trying to solve, you won't be able to tell whether you've succeeded or not. So I think trying to tease that out of them is probably the hardest thing, but it's one of the most important. At the end of the day, I mean, you most of us will just do what we're told, but I mean, it's like, how much chaos do you want and how fast? So it's like, I do think it's important to kind of try and rein in those expectations. But you can only do that if you do your homework, you do all the reading, you're up to date on the latest trends and stats and everything. But like I said, I think the most important thing is to try and figure out what problem they're trying to solve.
Yeah, so I can quickly add. See, it's with reference to complacency and how much to use. So one thing is for sure, given a problem, like for example, if I say that, okay, something has to go out, okay, and if we are able to turn something around, obviously we have been in an agile space for long, and we have been into CI/CD for long. There could be multiple cycles of revising it. But when we talk about believing in the first cut release, whether it is any QE documentation, but let's take an example. If we were to respond to an RFP, I'm just giving from a business perspective, and an RFP normally responds basically when it is 100-page long. I would have 4 or 5 people working with me, and it would take multiple days. But now, with the aid that we have, I think we are able to respond it much faster. And it is the need, because the timelines are like that. If we don't do it, others are anyways doing. The extension of time does not come into play. Now, but having said that, when we are basically becoming, like for example, what is the core? One is solutioning, one is with respect to pricing. Pricing is our own. I don't think AI can help. Similarly, in the QE environment, when we talk about any set of things that needs to be produced, you need to really know what is your team's value add. And we need to be efficient on that. So we need to produce and we need to be efficient. And now we need to make effective. Without making that effective, there are tons of people producing the same, and you would lose out. Plus, that exactly problem can happen where you can't find defects. Your assets will not be that much effective. All that needs to be judged. That is where the play comes, where you need real expertise to look at things from what you call critical mindset. And that is what I have been using. It is important that somebody reviews it nicely. The exercise of review, the exercise of that subject matter expert who can bring in those value add is now even more higher, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to think about this from the perspective of each of those executives and what they're looking for. So if I'm a CTO or a CIO, I might be looking for faster delivery, greater productivity, doing more with less. That might be my focus for looking at AI. If I'm a CEO or a CFO, I'm looking at, well, how can I reduce costs? How can I do things more efficiently and make more on the bottom line? So there's different aspects of balancing that whoever it is you're speaking to at an executive level. If that's the level that we're going up to in the C-suite, and that's quite important in terms of how you balance that. But actually, one of the questions I think they're really worried about at the moment is how do we stay safe? How do we keep ourselves in a position where we can do this reliably, responsibly, without introducing risk? Particularly in these larger organizations where there's a lot more going on and it's a lot more complex. I think the risk is enormous if you don't get this right. It's not proven at enterprise scale yet. So I think they're thinking about how do I prevent risk from getting into my customers, into the users, but how do I get these efficiency gains? That's what I think they're thinking about, and the communication should be around that.
Some really amazing insights from all of our panelists. And I think we could go on for a while. I've been reminded there's just a few more minutes for the session to end, but I honestly think there's lots more to kind of follow on. So maybe we'll do an offline conversation after this. So hopefully our panelists will stay for some more time and address some of them. One particular question caught my eye from the audience. What are the ethical considerations that you should have in mind when you're embedding AI into quality systems? This is the big kind of a gray area, if you like, in AI, isn't it? The ethical side of it. I don't know if any of you wanted to share any specific thoughts, Charmaine. It's of your deep interest given your blockchain work and everything.
Yeah. So bias is a big problem in AI, and it's because of the types of people that are training the models. It tends to be young men or whatever. So it's maybe biased against females, or if biased against people whose culture are not involved in the team developing it. So I think what we have to do to try and prevent this is have diversity, have different genders, different cultures, people who speak different languages from different countries, and not just have the sort of the young white males building these models. I've seen instances in healthcare where if a male had put in his symptoms, I've got these pains in my chest, then the AI says, you're having a heart attack, go to hospital. But if a woman says, I'm having these pains in my chest, they say, you're just stressed, go and have a sit down. So it's that kind of bias that we have to prevent.
Great shout, Charmaine. I think diversity is going to be a big kind of factor to how AI will work better for everybody. Don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on ethics and inclusivity and some of these slightly difficult areas around AI.
Just to echo what Charmaine said, I mean, there's been a couple of really well publicized big companies, including the UK government, who've made mistakes in that area. The UK government one was a few years ago now, but it was a passport photo checker. And for people who weren't white, it basically said you don't meet the criteria. And I was like, but it does. There was another one I think I read a long time ago actually, but it was for I think it was Amazon and their recruitment process. And they were unfairly being biased because they were using an AI tool to help them do the recruitment process. They realized, well, actually they knew in advance, but they realized that it was biased against people from certain schools or from certain backgrounds or who didn't have certain things on their resumes. So I do think that's an important one. But also thinking about how to put certain guardrails in place. So how can we as testers use the AI or use the AI safely so that we don't let it do things like that? So can we put limits around it? Can we put those guardrails in place so that it doesn't do that? I think these are sort of questions that are just kind of forming with me just now, and I don't have the answers to them, but I think there's certainly ethics is one of the areas I think there's least work being done in, and I think it's probably one of the areas that most work should be done in.
It's one of the areas of biggest risk. Because what we're really saying is, can we trust the machine to know the difference between right and wrong? Which is a mind-boggling concept. And if we'd thought about that 5 years ago, we would have been so confused it wouldn't even be coming to mind. But it is a real risk for us, and it's how do we put those guardrails is the right word. How do you put that in place to protect the business and people, so that it is doing the right things, and we can trust it with confidence in the decisions it's making or recommending, and keeping some level of human expertise in the loop to support with that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody. What a shame we've run out of time, and I have to bring the session to a close. I just want to quote McDougall, whom I had the privilege of hearing a few years ago. He's a very famous speaker from quality engineering world, who said, testers are the guardians of happiness. So in a way, yes, we have this humongous role and responsibility to guard happiness of humanity, if you like. So just wanted to give out a general message to everybody who's in quality engineering testing profession. You have an incredibly important role to play in what's emerging as a world, and all our leaders on the panel will agree we not only need to adapt, that's the main requirement. So hopefully that's given you some more thought to kind of consider as you progress in your careers and in your paths in your journey. So thanks very much to all our panelists. It's been such a fantastic conversation. I sincerely wish we had a little bit more time, but request you to perhaps take a look at the chat, please, and respond to any questions that you have, any views to share. But, thank you so much for your time and attention.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much, panel.
Thank you, Sowmya.
Really amazing to be with you guys.
Thanks,
yeah.
everyone. Thanks, Sowmya and Aditya, and all panelists. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sowmya, for making this happen. I think kudos to you for curating this topic and the panel as well. Big thanks.
Pleasure. Really a privilege. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And back to Deepti. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Over to you, Deepti.
Yes, thank you, Sowmya. I think it was an interesting mix of different insights across the world and across topics and across expertise.